Hi everybody, welcome back to Pescari Fly. My name is Peter Driver and I am here in Kilkenny in Ireland and we are going to do a little bit of a live fly time show tonight. So I hope everybody's keeping well. Great to see you all back on there. How you doing, Nigel Haynes, Jimmy Gibson? Hope the health is well, Jimmy. Billy Boland, good to see you. Kieran Sherlock, Philip Bales on there. Great to see so many people back on a hot summer's evening. Um, that said, back when we finished up our winter tying sessions, that I would check in on you at some stage over the summer months to see how everybody's getting on, to tie a few summer flies, and little you know, I was going to pick the hottest day of the year. How you doing, Alan? Good to see you here. Hey, Shane. Shane, I hope the leg is on the mend some way. You had a bad old injury there. Hey, John Walsh. Good to see you. Robert Flaherty's on there. Good to see everybody back on. Uh, Man, it's absolutely baking here. I tell you one thing, it's baking. But lucky enough, I brought supplies to keep me nice and cool. And hope everyone's got a cold one, whether you're sitting out in the sun. Hi, Robbie Berry. Oh, if you're sitting out in the evening sun. Hi, Eugene Fagan. Sitting out in the evening sun or sitting in on the couch just cooling off after a hot day. Hope everybody's keeping well and everybody's having a good fishing season so far. It's been kind of up and down for me. I'm getting out at times and missing other key times, but that's the joys, I guess, of having a fly shop. You've got to be in the shop when everyone else is out the river looking for gear. So, but I got some good sessions in so far, and looking forward to the second half of the season. Um, so if anybody's on there, say hello, please. Tell us any fishy stories you might have since I saw you all. Hi, Dave Donovan. Dave Donovan, will you have a little trivia quiz for us tonight? We have a nice little prize here for if Dave would like to throw his usual very knowledgeable fishing or whatever may be questions out there. It'd be great. Um, um, yeah. Shane's missing Thomas now, but yeah, Shane. But so look, there's always next year. Thomastown will be there next year. Shane, get yourself better and wish you all the best for speedy recovery. And you'll be back out there in no length. But yeah, so if anybody wants to say hello or share anything with the group, please do. It's great to see so many people back on here again from our usual sessions. And if you wouldn't mind, hit that. Hi, Tom Ankertel. If you wouldn't mind, hit that share button and let's see if we can get a few people here. Hi, Neil, Kieran Sherlock, Dave. Kieran wants it easy this time. Um, so hit that share button and we'll get into some nice summer flies tonight. Okay, so I put out the question a couple of days ago. What will we do? A little bit of a catch up, bit of fun, by the way. And I was in dazes with requests and stuff like that. So what I kind of narrowed it down to was kind of what's fairly relevant at the moment. Sherry spinners. You can't be on the river night time without a sherry spinner this time of the year. Silver sage, again, time of the year for that. There was a lot of people, and Eugene Fagan, I think, hi, Dylan Roberts. How's the Welsh D fishing, Dylan? Um, but there was a lot of people asking about snails, loch style snails. So we're going to do a little bit of coverage on loch style snails tonight. Eugene, I know you were looking for that to be covered as well. So I hope you're not disappointed. We got two kind of patterns for loch style snails tonight. Um, Silver sage, loch style snail, and we're going to do. Some people were asking about nighttime fishing and kind of wet fly fishing during the sedge hatches and stuff like that. Good stuff, Robbie. So we're going to do a sedge pupae, one that I fished many times, just on the edge of dark or after dark, and we're going to talk a bit about how to fish it, and more importantly, we're going to talk about how to tie it. Can be very effective. So we got a couple of patterns to get through tonight, and bit of fun, guys. Hi Rick, hi Liam, Dave is on there as well. Great to see so many people back. So we're going to get started into that little sherry spinner. Now the sherry spinner is when the female or blue winged olive returns to the river. In around high summer, midsummer is when she come back, and she's a cherry colour. Cherry colour, that's where she gets her name, sherry spinner. Now she'll also come back in around September or later on in the season during the daytime. But this time of the year, sherry spinners can be, can be what's underwater and can be. Sorry to hear that, Noel. Sorry to hear. Hi, Ken. Ken Dunn is on there as well. Hope you're keeping well, Ken. Um, but sherry spinner can be really productive this time of the year. So having a couple of sherry spinners in the box is well worth having, and they're not that hard to tie. That's the best thing about sherry spinner. Okay, a couple of things, but this is a great little pattern I've had for years, and it's one we didn't share on any of uh, our previous live shows. So I just said I'd share which tonight. So I got some red hens twist tying thread there, and I'm gonna attach that to my size 18-301 hook. For the tail, I'm using Coq Leon, but I got a real pale Coq Leon, as you can see. Now, an awful lot of people use microfibbits for their tail, for the likes of spinners and stuff like that, but I'm just a pure lover of Coq Leon. So this is, hi Michael Callaghan. Great to be back. It's great to be back, even though it's sweltering, but it is good to be back on the Fly Fish Live, or on the Fly Tying Live, and catch up with everybody. You know, we had such a great session over the winter months there, and I'm really looking forward. We got some amazing plans for winter sessions this year, by the way, folks. Got some really great guests coming on. Got some great sessions lined up. We've been working away on it all year, getting ready for it. So this October, the first Saturday night in October, we'll be back to our live sessions on Saturday night. So make sure you keep an eye out for that one. So I'm just selecting 3 very small and fine little fibers of that, or barbs off of that Coq Leon. Now, the length of the tail on this is very important. It has to be at least the length of the body, okay? So these spinners do tend to have quite a long tail. Trap them in up the body, bring down the thread. God, it's so unusual tying by this light. I remember during the winter months how difficult it was tying by the light. Even though you see it quite bright, it's actually quite dark where I am, because all the light is focused. It's really unusual. And I'm so used to tying on my own desk now constantly. So, tying back down just before we hit the bend of the hook, lift up your tail, get one turn under that tail. And what that does, it helps fan out those. You can see those three little fibers of that Coq Leon will start to fan out. Once you put a turn then directly in on top, and it kind of pinches them down, they will stay in place. Now you can, if I was using microfibbits there, I would, excuse me, I would, hi Betty, hope you're keeping well, Betty. Good to see you on. Betty Hayes there is on. So if I was tying microfibbits, I would put a figure 8 kind of tying through it, but the Coq Leon is so fine. It's not something you want to do on the live show, because it can get quite frustrated. So I just, once I get them kicked up and get them splayed, I'm kind of happy that they're going to achieve exactly what I'm doing. What I'm just tying in there is a little bit of rib. So this is dark brown. And the reason why it normally, in some other cases, when you're putting in a secondary thread, you would tie it in initially and tie in the tail and then put your primary thread on top of it. But for this particular one, because I want to keep that body as small as possible, I don't do the secondary. I initially kind of add in afterwards. So a little bit of dark brown. And that is UTC 70. And I'm going to bring my little bit of red thread up along the body. Just iron out any knuckles that might be there. And stop. Just a couple of mils short of the eye. You then take your UTC brown and spin it. So just going to spin it in the hand here just to get it nice and tight. So when I rib that little bit of red and I see a little blemish back along that body. So I'll just go back along. That's handy about tying in front of the camera. I can see both sides of the fly. Normally when I'm tying, it's kind of 2-dimensional or 1-dimensional. I can only see this side of the fly. But with the camera, I can see what you guys are seeing. Even though it might look perfect on my side, it certainly didn't look perfect on yours. So hi Patrick. Patrick Smith's on there. Good to see you back, Patrick. Hope everybody's having a great summer. Hope everybody's enjoying that fabulous weather that's out there at the moment. You know, Shane, I'd say you're probably not enjoying it all. Well, you could be sitting outside the back maybe, Shane, but you'd rather be on a river cooling down maybe. So I'm just giving that a good spin to tighten up that, because I don't want a flat rib on it. I want a nice fine little brown rib. Hi Graham. Good to see you back on, Graham. Hope you're keeping well over there. I'm just going to give that a little rib up the body. I tie these an awful lot with quill, or I get requested to tie these an awful lot with little quills. But this is a little pattern I tied years ago when I actually didn't have quills and I wanted to get a similar effect. And it's one I've been fishing for years and always find it very successful. Say this time of the year now, for the last couple of weeks, into September, it's a little dry. It's always well worth having in the box. So we got a lovely little ribbed sherry spinner. That's a size 18 there, Robbie. A size 18 301 the Haku. Hey Darius, good to see you there, Darius. Hope you're keeping well. Okay, next we're going to put on a little bit of wing. So a real little bit of soft poly kind of yarn here. Don't know where I picked it up, but it's very, very soft. And I save it for these kind of little spent wings. Take a couple of centimeters. Hey Seamus Roach is on. And I'm going to split that down the middle because it's a bit heavy for this size of a fly. And I'm going to roll it in the hands a little bit just to See what sort of shape it's going to be when it starts to dampen up in the water. And we're going to tie that in and then get it a cross section like so. And I'm just going to figure out my way around to get that trapped exactly where I want it. Now the stage of this fly that we're trying to imitate is the splint in the evening time. Hi James. And they kind of kept me a bit sane too as well, James. Hi Dalty. Dalty's up there from Donegal. Good to see you on, Dalty. Hope you're keeping well. So you can see we just got a lovely little splint wing on that there now. And you trim it up. Now, rule of thumb that I have in the trim, same length as the body. Okay, so I hold it back, mark it with my scissors, and trim it same length as the body. There we go. You see that? Everyone's picture and sound okay? I should have checked in, which is all earlier, but I think I managed to turn on the sound in. There's no one giving out to me yet. Hi John Guinea. No one giving out to me yet, so that's a good sign. Now, for a little bit of a kind of a thorax dub here, I don't put on much, but I like to put on something a little bit. Hey, Peter Wadding's on there. I like to put on a little bit of a thorax dub here. And what I have here now is I have a muskrat lemon or watermelon color, okay? And I have a brown, very fine brown rabbit. And I mix the two. It's 2/3 watermelon and 1/3 brown. Okay, that's the mix I use for, and if I was tying a larger one of these, or maybe even a dub body one of these, or if I was tying an upwinged version of it, a sherry, for a bit of daytime fishing or early in the year fishing, I would use this dubbing as the predominant down the whole, maybe possibly even down the whole body. But you're only taking a tiny pinch of here. It just helps support that fly in the right position. And the reason why I went for the muskrat is because muskrat, as we all know, is a waterfowl creature. It has natural oils into it, and it does help. It's very soft, and it just sits lovely on the water and helps support that little fly, just so it gets caught right in that film, exactly where the trout want it. Very small little pinch. I'm just teasing it out, getting the right diameter on the thread. Once I'm happy, then I'll just go back with my figure of 8 over the wing. Trap it in nice and well. And there we go, folks. Very simple little sherry spinner pattern. Absolutely crucial to have them in the box this time of the year. And oh, broke away nice and easy. Very crucial to have those in the box this time of the year, because they'll. Hi Joe Trill is on there from Galway. How's the carp fishing, Joe? Hope yourself and Anthony and all the family is keeping well. A little bit of a brush out now to get that wing and a little bit of that kind of thorax stub into it. Just flex out a little bit. And I say, help that fly sit in. One wing might be a slight little bit bigger than the other, but it's very little in it now. And there we have it. James Hope wants some good fishing in Durrow. Yes, James, the Urkin is there, and the upper Nor is there. And now this time of the year it can be a bit choked up with weed, but it can be good. It can be good fishing, all right. There, especially in the evening rise, James, you could get some very good fishing. So there's a little sherry spinner, well worth having in the box. This time of the year, so I wouldn't be going nighttime fishing without that little fella. You'd be surprised the visibility on him too. Like, but normally what I do is I kind of, tunnel vision the cap into that area. I know the kind of general distance that I'm going to be casting in, be it 20-30 yards. And once I know that fly is in that tunnel where the cap is facing, well then anything moves in that area, strike. And that's my method of how to fish little dries in the evening, especially when they're sitting so low in the water. If I lose visibility, if it's broken water or silver water, well then I just kind of get the rough area where it's in. You kind of, I say, bring down the baseball cap over my eyes and tunnel my vision to that distance exact spot. And you're kind of got a 2 or 3 foot radius there of where your fly is traveling down through. And if it moves or boils in that area, bang, it's lifted to that fish, because more than likely it's going to be for your fly. Lovely, very simple little sherry spinner there. It's going into a little tub. Don't forget, as always, folks, tomorrow I'm going to ask some random question based on tonight. The correct answer is going to win all the flies from tonight. And then I would have tied in practice beforehand because a little bit rusty now. Not from tying flies. I'm far from rusty from tying flies. I'm tying every day. It's absolutely, it's nice and busy at the moment. But from doing it on the live show, it's different sitting on the desk, lost in your own thoughts. But it's different. It's different when you come up here and have to do it in front of the camera in 27 degrees, which is the moment. So I have to keep hydrating myself at the moment, so if you don't mind. Okay, let's move on. Let's stick to the nighttime fishing on the rivers for the moment. There are a lot of people asking for what's one of the better sedge patterns on the river at the moment, and what we're going to do now is a very productive little fly, again, that I've fished for years, and I can remember going back to my time on the Avonmore River down in Avondale Estate. If any of you have ever fished Avondale Estate, probably one of the most beautiful places in the world to go fly fishing. Down there in summer's evenings as a young lad with my dad and fishing silver sedges. Now back then, silver sedges we were tying were probably, we were buying them in the local tackle shop, size 12, barbed, big massive yolks, High Sean. So on the tail of that one was, I wrote it back out here now for a second. Oh, here I've got here. It's a pale Coq de Leon feather. Okay, so that was one on the tail. A lot of people use microfibbits, Sean, but when it's that small, I find microfibbits are just a little bit stiff, a little bit big. So I have that lovely pale Coq de Leon, very robust, and it's a lovely little bit of speckle on it. There's subtle speckle on it as well, very natural. So I hope that helps, Sean. But the silver sage was always the one when, as soon as that dusk fell, Dad would turn around and he'd take a silver sedge out of his box himself, and we put it up, and you'd be sure you would get fish on it. So it's always been one of those confidence flies for me going into an evening fish. Joe saying fishing's not good in the car. A bit hot, I'd say, Joe. Probably is a bit. Wouldn't be the greatest time of year for the lakes, but the trout fishing on the rivers now should be pretty good. I know on the Nore it's really picking up quite well. We had a lovely couple, sort of 4 to 6 inches of water. Don't mind me, I'm just dumping out a bag of CDC here so I can get the right one. It's kind of the tail end of a bag, and I need to be able to find the CDC feather I'm looking for. But the Nore is coming on pretty good now at the moment. I know, so I was talking to some people today that are fishing the night rise, and they're getting fantastic fishing. But say we had 4 to 6 inches of water on it there recently, and last couple, or sort of 4 or 5 days ago, and I went down a couple of morning sessions there. I love going fishing in the morning. It's the best time to go fishing, especially in this weather. And yeah, it's fishing a bomb. Some lovely trout moving. So I'm going to I'm going to add in here as a DO4 size 16 by Maruto. Okay, this is for silver sedge. Now this is a small silver sedge. Over the years, I've tended to tie them quite small and tidy. Now I do try them on 14s as well, but I do like this silver sedge to be quite small. So we're going to add in a little bit of our Piscari Fly Kevlar. Just a base there, clean that away. We got a fine silver wire here by Sabaya, 0.1. I'm just going to add that in the full length hook. Take a Uni Pearl Gold Silver size small, medium, 14, medium, isn't it? I'm going to take a little bit of snippet of that. That's going to be the silver on our body. And we're going to add that in there also. Bring up our thread. And then take our silver body up along. Tie it off up near the head. Hi, Davey. Good question. Davey Brannock is on there wondering, great to be back, wondering what time early morning for dries, crack of dawn. I love going out the river 5 in the morning, this time of the year, once daybreak starts, and that's daylight starts hitting the water, they'll come on the rise. You get a fantastic, how many, good, that's a question, James. How many fish would you catch in one day on the Nore? That's unquantifiable. It depends on the day, James. If it was a red letter day, name your number. Say your number, because the Nore is very prolific, and on any given day it can produce phenomenal numbers. On a tough day, You'd think someone came with a wheelbarrow and took them all out of it. So it's a number I wouldn't even try to estimate of what I could take on an hour in a day. Don't mind me, I'm rooting through hackles here, just looking for. I got a brown saddle here, and I just need a nice fine little saddle. Some other people would use hackle gauges. I'm one of these people that I know the second I see it, that's the one for that fly. That's not far off it, but it's not it. So yeah, I wouldn't dare put a guess on it, James. But you know, you can I say the Nora is very prolific, and on any given day, as do most rivers around Ireland, on any given day, you could produce a huge number of fish if you're really on fire and you're on the right spot and you're fishing it with the right methods. Phenomenal numbers. But then I say there's days I've gone to it when I've needed numbers. That'll do. There's days I've gone to it when I've needed numbers and not been able to get them. So a little brown hackle. I'll tie that in there. Tie the upper waist. And I'm just going to palm her down over that silver. 5 turns will be enough. It's a lovely fly to ride high up on a riffle. That's why I used to like it as a young lad, because it was so visible. And I'm going to bring my fine silver wire back up. And I'm just wiggling it through that hackle, making sure everything is nice and strong and well secured in. And tying it off. Dave Donovan is on there, folks, and questions coming up. By the way, you get a chance to win tonight one of our lovely Pescari Fly t-shirts, one of our new logos. Hey, Alan Lawless. So that's the small logo on the chest, and then we got a much larger logo on the back. So that's up for grabs tonight. Whoever wins the prize, I will be in touch with them and get their size and get their lovely new t-shirt out to them. Okay. So there's my little silver sedge palmer. What I need to do now is put a little wing on it. Okay. Back in the day, it would have been starling or a little bit of duck. As years have developed, I've switched to CDC. So I get 2 fairly similar sized CDC feathers, and I put them on the flat and try bunch them with the natural curvature, just lying on the flat. So when we get that wing in, hey Aidan Gill, Desmond, how you doing? Good to see you back. We get that wing nice and flat, and we want to come the full length just over the turn of the hook, or the bend of the hook. What I've found out about fishing sedge, especially on rivers over the years, it's all about the profile. It's about the silhouette when those fish look up and see the length of that wing. A little bit of pressure on it. A nice flat, as you can see, turn to the side. Nice flat shape to that wing, and that'll certainly look very attractive from the trout underneath, looking up. Going to take the exact same feather there now. I need to work on this voice a little bit. Get it. The adjustments right now. Same little brown feather, and I'm going to tie that in there. And I'm going to put a little shoulder hackle on this one as well. And don't forget, if you're fishing this on a tapered leader, it's going to spin like hell. Get up there near the head, trap it off. I'll tidy all that up now in a second. No, I won't. I have to go back. So basically what's happened to me there is the foundation I put down underneath that hackle is not, it's a little bit tapered coming near the eye, and it's causing the hackle to slip into the eye a little bit where I don't want it to be. So I need to just remove a couple of turns, take off the hackle altogether is the best thing. Go back to when I tied in the CDC. And you could continue on there and tie a grand little fly, but sometimes it's better just to take a little step back for a second. Restrip my feather. Now we'll try that again. Couple of turns up near the head. Great. Happy with that. No, I don't use colour thread on this one. I leave it white. I leave that head white and everything because I think, just for me personally, I like the look of it against the silver body. That white thread is there, and it's going to make a tiny little bit of room now by just shoving back that hacker with my fingernail. Just packing it all together. Tidying up that thread. There we go. Man, it's warm. Holy moly. Little whip finish there at the head. Tighten it in. And if you were down the river now this evening, around about 11 o'clock, and you were looking, so Dave, the world record brown trout was recently caught in New Zealand. Can anyone tell me what it weighed? Very good. James Hope is on there. James is getting in plenty of answers. Dave, once you get the answer to the trivia, you might let me know. Send me a message, and I will be able to send on somebody a lovely new Pescari Fly t-shirt. There is a lovely little silver sedge for the river. Size 16. I say I would absolutely not be on the river this evening in that nice hot weather without that little sedge. Rides nice and high, ginked up there, rides lovely and high in the riffles. So that's why I liked it when I was a young lad, because I used to be able to see the bloody thing. And definitely one to catch that will catch a lot of fish. One I don't hear too much about now either. If anyone has any experience in there in fishing the silver sedges, let me know. I'd love to hear stories. But definitely as a young lad growing up, I say back then we were fishing them size 12 barbed. But we all became a little bit more advanced since then. So there we go, folks. There's two lovely little dry fly patterns to cover your evening rises for wild brown trout on the rivers at the moment. Both of them work really well coming up to dark. After dark, other things happen. But we'll talk about that now in a few minutes. I just want to put away some of this mess I've created here now with all the CDC trying to. Hey, Colin Mullally's on there. Hey, don't call him. Tidy up a bit of CDC before we move on now to our next fly. I hope everyone's enjoying the evening. Everyone's relaxing in the evening sun, having a cold one. Looking forward to the weekend. It's Friday night, so I decided to do it on Friday night this week. Say just checking in with everyone for the summer and see how everyone's getting on. Yeah, sometimes I can do that too, Kieran. Kieran, start using a blade for trimming. Sometimes I can do the very same. Yeah, absolutely. I always have a razor blade. Now, I don't have it up here. I have them on the desk below. But very fine razor blades is a handy tool to have when you're tying flies for getting really close to the eye and some of the small stuff. Okay, what am I going to do next? Okay, I know there's a lot of people waiting on snails, so let's switch off the rivers before I go back into the kind of the nighttime sedge fishing, sedge pupae and that kind of stuff. We're gonna go to snails. So I get asked this question a million and one times. What's the snail pattern? What's the best snail pattern for lean in places like this? They're on the snails. Some stage every time of the year, snails come up subsurface, and that's when trout really take them. They love them in that particular, just under the surface film. And what you see on the lake is the heading and tailing of a trout, and he's gorging himself on snails. And when they're on them, if you're not on something pretty similar or something that can match the hatch, you're going to find it hard to get some fish, you know. So I get asked an awful lot about snails, and the BBO is probably, you know, the BBO is a very good fly on snails. I've often used Montana nymph style stuff on snails, and they've worked as well. Probably one of the best wet flies. I'm going to tell you real quick because it's such a simple little pattern. One of the best wet flies for it, and I'm actually didn't really bring a wet fly hook. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it on a let's see that for a second. Let's see what hooks I have here. I'll go back and I'll do it on just a quick size 16, okay? Just because it's worth having a chat about this little wet fly. I don't know, Eugene, because I haven't been on him much, but is that what you're thinking? Stephen O'Reilly won the prize. Well done, Stephen. 44 pounds 5 ounces. That's a nice handy trout. I wonder was he caught in the fly? I doubt it, but maybe he was. Wow, what a fish. Well done, Stephen. So I'm going to have your lovely new t-shirt. I will contact you probably tomorrow, and I'll have your lovely new fly or your new Pescari Fly t-shirt out to you in the post first thing Monday morning. So Normally I tie these on probably 14s or 12s. Simple little fly. Black twine thread. John Walsh actually won, did he? Well, I'd have to go. Yeah, you might check that, Dave. If not, I can check back over who's the first person on the timeline here. That will actually take the prize. But look at, you know what? Summertime, lads. We haven't been on in a while. It's great to be back on here live with everyone. Great to see so many people back here. A little bit of silverware. Great to see so many people back on here. So John Walsh and Stephen. I'll get a t-shirt out to boys on Monday morning. 3 strands of peacock herl. You're probably guessing what this fly is now pretty quick. But when it comes to fishing snails on a lake, if you get this little fly and gink it up and fish it just under that surface film on a midge tip, very slow intermediate, you'll have no problem. You know, you will catch fish. Now, we're going to do another pattern in a minute, a bit more imitative, and I know has worked quite well as well. But you know, if you're struggling, a black and peacock spider, you can't go past it. You know, build up that body, nice shape to it. So normally we tied on a size 14, so forgive me, proportions aren't right, especially when it comes to hackle. But it's just to tie it and discuss it because it's worth mentioning. It's a lovely little fly. And a very good wet fly for brown trout under the rivers too. Mind you, a little silver rib to give that a bit of strength. Robbie Berry, any runner-up prizes? Next time, Rob, next time. We'll have a whole winter of prizes and giveaways this year, folks. We're working hard on it. We have a great show lined up from October right through till March. And I hope you'll all join us and contribute as you did last year. It was fantastic. And also thanks a million to everyone for their support since our live shows. I don't get a chance to thank everyone personally all the time. But we do really appreciate the support we get here in Pescari Fly. It means the world to us, and it's great to be having people back in the shop. You know, we've added a lot of new products, we've made a lot of new renovations and stuff, and the shop is going great, and it's growing all the time, and that's all thanks to your help and support. So we really do appreciate it. And if you're ever in the Thomastown area or Bennettsbridge area, Thomastown and Bennettsbridge, James, you're more than welcome. The kettle's always on, the door's always open. You're more than welcome to call in for a cup of tea and a chat and have an old browse. Take away a little bit of waste and fold it back. Now, the one thing about this little fly, and I'm going to speak about it now in a second, is that hackle, okay? And I reserved this hackle just for the black and peacock spider. Because when I bought this hackle, don't ask me where I bought it, many years ago, somewhere. I looked at it, and it's a black hen, but it has a green fleck to it. And I use it for the likes of black and peacock spiders. That there, hi Gianluca. I hope the holiday's going well. That there ginked up. I would gink that up if I was fishing for fishing snails on a lake or a stocked reservoir, wherever it may be. Not really sure if anyone can get the vibe off of that. I'll kind of move it around, but you see the shine that's off that. Now, if you saw that through my eyes without not being on the camera, there's a green tinge or fleck or reflection or whatever the word you want to describe it. Tommy Lane got a bigger trout than the world record, I think, did he? Tommy, oh man, Tommy. He's going to defend the championships this year, Mike. Mikey Foley's on there. A couple of weeks to go now. No pressure, Mikey. Yourself and Tommy there defending champions of Thomastown. But there's a kind of a green fleck to that. Really, I'm looking at the camera here and I don't know if you're getting it. But for trying the likes of beetle patterns and snail patterns, it's fabulous because when it comes wet over that peacock, absolutely beautiful. Don't know where I picked that up, but I tell you, all my kind of beetle but there's a lovely little wet fly. Gink that up, and that'll certainly you'll have a chance of catching a trout. Okay, but if we want to go a bit more imitative, there is another pattern that I'm going to do for you. A little bit of work with this one, so bear with me, please, as we work our way through it. Right, we got 611 size 12. Now I can tie these on 14s and 16s, but just for the purpose of the show, I'm going to tie it on a size 12. So it is proportionally going to be a bit larger than normal. If someone was asking for a size 14 or No pressure on the two Ronnies. That's what I like to hear, Tommy. That's what I like to hear, boy. So size 12, just for the purpose of give you a good visibility of what I'm trying to achieve here with this thing. This thing has worked quite well over the last number of seasons for many anglers. Okay, we've got a size 12 611 in the vise. I'm trying to remember all the stages for this one now. Are you going to Kings River tomorrow, Mikey? Good man. You better be on it early. You better be on it very early. So a little bit of what I have here now is Spectre number 46, Dublin by Hens. Okay, and I know since last time we talked, and he's all seen over the winter shows that I tell you with a lot of hen stuff I do, and we have managed to put quite a large stock of Hens products into our shop now. So if anybody's looking for any Hens products materials, we have a very large stock of it in the shop at the moment. We've got another big shipment of it in there today. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of a butt section here first. Just a little ball there. We're going to leave that alone there for a few minutes, okay? Now, this is probably one of the key parts of this particular fly is this foam. Okay, self-adhesive, black but not completely black. Again, the video's not doing it pure justice. There's a slight little brown tinge off of that. Okay, now it's not a typical flat close self foam sheet that you get. It's a lot more denser than that. It's actually quite stiff and it's quite dense. It's really robust. And you know where I think I got this was actually in a hardware store, and it's used for putting on up under, they say, the likes of the leg of a table so it doesn't crash a wooden floor or a chair or something like that. That's where I discovered this stuff. So this is what I use for all my foam beetles and snail patterns, and it's the color, it's the way it's in the water. You'll see how I'm going to apply other stuff to it later on in the dressing, and it takes it very well. So this is part of the pattern. So what I'm going to basically do is I'm going to cut a little angled piece of maybe 2.5 to 3 inches in length, a wedge. And just square off the end just a little bit. So that's the wedge I've got, okay? You can see. Remove the sticky film. And we're going to tie that in there just above that peacock. Just like so. Bring your thread up underneath. So remember, we want this fly sitting just not in the surface film. It has to be sitting under the surface film. Just under it, okay? So I think that's where that foam, the density of that foam, while it floats, it kind of doesn't really bop up like say some of the booby cords and stuff like that quite as easy. Putting another wedge, a generous enough wedge now on a size 12 in there under that second one. Yeah, it's good stuff, all right, James. A Tommy Fly UV reflective is good stuff, all right. Now I fold over the second piece. Now I'm not pulling it madly over the top. Couple of turns. Okay. We take another wedge. Now, if you go back to the original wedge that you just cut and literally go square off of that, you'll end up with a very similar shape. Just dropped it. And by the way, that foam is not for sale in my shop. Just the last piece of it I have. So what I've done is, again, I've just created the same wedge shape that I have it on before. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to taper it back as well. Quite sharply. So you can see what way I've cut that there now. Okay. Now we take some super glue and we super glue the adhesive part just to give us a bit of an extra bind. Line the fingers. A little bit of super glue. Bit of an extra bind, and even now I actually look at it, I've actually undercut that. I need to cut that back up a bit. Reform a shape. There we go. That's grand. And we place that on top of the previous piece. So basically all we're doing is building up that foam, okay? You can see now why I've gone for size 12 to give you some kind of a visual of what I'm trying to achieve here, okay? We then take that little taper that we put in and we attach it down in there on top of the row. See what I've done? Okay, thread back underneath. Now you really probably should give that a few moments for that super glue to really set, but we're going to keep pushing on. Yes, it'll work, James. Will it be the same thing? No, but yes, it'll work. Good question, Kieran. I'm not as Tommy's bringing the sun cream to rub on me. Ah, that sounds lovely, lads. Tommy and Mikey are going to be lathering each other up in the morning down on the Kings River. I'll warn all the locals to keep the window shut, Tommy or Mikey, and keep the kids indoor in the morning till the two boys are gone fishing. But I'm not sure about that, Kieran. Maybe if any of the lake guys are on there at the moment, tell us what daybreak on the lakes is like at the moment. Not something I hear too many people doing, but I know river fishing at daybreak at the moment is quite good. So again, I'm going back to my peacock dub, and I'm giving it a good whack up there now at the front. So you know we've put on a fairly decent amount of peacock, and I'm then going to take my two foams, and now we're going to apply a little bit of pressure. Okay. Working it down the same spot the whole time to get it in. Thread up underneath. You want to create them very distinctive ridges on the back. And we're going to tie off that thread there now for a minute. I'm nearly convinced, I would nearly make a very good guess that this foam could be bought in Woodies or some store like that, and more than likely where I found it. I'm always on the look for something a little bit different, a little bit of a tinge in this or a colour in that or whatever it may be. So I would take a fair guess that if I need to get more of that foam, I'm going to be looking at hardwares. And now we're going to trim off a little bit of that. And what we're going to do now is just a little bit of scissors work on this main head. We're going to tidy it all up, get it tapered in around, and give it a little bit of shape to it, okay? So we want to just create that nice bit of curvature that would be on. Now say it's quite large, but it's for the purpose of this video. We can tie these on 14, 16s. But just for the purpose of the live show, I said I'll do a larger one because it makes it easier for you guys to have the visible aspect of you know, when we put in the secondary foam and how we get it so it just matches in quite nice with the, you know, now you can cut, you know, if you were to block, say what James saying there, the big blocks of upavon foam that are nearly 2 or 3 inches deep, you can get a razor blade and you can pretty much slice your taper for that whole thing. But that foam that I'm using, that I dropped it here, I'll pick it up again. That foam that I'm using is something that say it is black, but there is something very, again, like the cape, it's a slight little brown twinge off it, and it's a beautiful color. It's also very, very dense, and that's why I think it's used for under the legs of tables and stuff like that. If I come across it ever, I'll post it up on Facebook, as I always do, or something, of where to get it. So I'm just getting a nice bit of shape onto that. It's not too bad. You could keep going at it for a little while, but I'm not going to bore you much longer. You all get the gist of what I've just done there, of how I formed that body over the top. Okay, we're not finished yet. We still have more to do. Now, dubbing brush. And what I want to do now is brush out that peacock underneath and get it going back. So you remember that first little ball of peacock that we put on there and said we weren't going to touch? Now we want to get in at that. Now we're going to brush out some of the other stuff down along the body. That's okay for the moment. It's going to taper the underbody of that little snail. Now, it all depends on what snails you're trying to imitate. I'd often ask a question if someone says, no, you wouldn't tie me up a couple of snail patterns. And I say, is there a brown tinge to it? Is there a peacock tinge to it? Some snails have different kind of tinges to them depending on the lake. This one would be more of a peacock green. Sometimes brown, so I'd use brown spectra. And you see those little tag ends sticking out the butt? I want to leave those. That's that little ball of dubbing. We've just teased out there a little bit. But then that's further up the body I'm going to trim off. We don't want them there. and it just helps create that whole image for the trout of the snail. Little tentacles or legs or whatever you want to call it, whatever they're called, making its way out of the back of the, as it sits in the surface with them. Trim off any more corners you see down, any other bits of foam that you tied in. So I won't spend too long trimming it because I'll be here for a while. But you get the general gist of what I'm trying to do. Okay. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to add some little molten to it. So most snails have some kind of a molten or some kind of a discoloration on on the shell, and we're going to add in the same. Okay, so remember we spoke about mica powders. Remember our mica powders? Well, here's how we use our mica powders. Okay, so for this particular one, I've got 2 mica powders here I can use. I've got the apple green, and I have the grass green. My hands are working backwards here because I'm looking at the camera. So there's the grass green, there's the apple green. Okay, so depending on which color will match it best, we'll tell you a couple of patterns in that. If we were doing the brown spectra, we would be on the brown green, or we would be on the shining bronze. Okay, and it adds a lovely little bit of molten to that foam. And because the high density is foam, it takes it really well, and actually it's very strong when it's on there. And with some of the softer foams, it can crack away or whatever once you they can be okay, James, sometimes, but they can be a bit weak. So I've got my little dish here. As you can see, this is the little dish that we put the mica powder and our resin into. I'll get a little dab of clear resin. I use the Solderez all the time, find it the best. And I'm going to put a little dab into the corner of that. Then we'll go for the we will go with grass green, the apple green. We might go with the I'll go with the grass green, I think. I'll go with the grass green. Yeah. So you take your grass green. Now, you don't pour it out. Mica powder is very, very fine. Don't sneeze around it. It's used for colouring resins. We done had a bit of a chat about this. I think everyone went mad buying mica powder for a couple of days. Excuse me. But you don't need much to add that colour that you want to your resins. Just all I do is I dip in my little artist brush, and as you can see the volume of stuff I have on there. More than time for a small pea-sized piece of resin. That is enough to colour it. Now there's a lovely little shimmer, and what I love about this, and you know, if you see pictures of snails or Google images of freshwater snails, they have that little bit of a shine to that little bit of a glimmer, kind of a glitz, or it's hard to explain, but you know what I'm kind of, most of you will probably know what I'm trying to say. A little bit of a flick or a little bit of shine off the shell, and this helps create that as well. Don't forget, this is sitting stagnant under the surface film. And those cagey trout that are feeding on these the whole time, they'll fucking know, like, you know, they'll know. So I've mixed it now, and you can see what I have there now. A lovely little green, goldeny kind of flick. And I use my same artist brush, don't have too much on it. And we just start taking a little bit off. And you're going to do your kind of molten in around the ridges and stuff like that. Just giving it a little bit of a shimmer. Now, it's not going to be very distinctive as regards you're going to recolour the whole foam. It's going to be quite dark. But yet, you're just going to give a little shimmer off those ridges. You're going to enhance those indentations that you made with the trade as such. And put a lovely little bit of a molten effect onto that. You see there now what we're getting? Just a little bit of a molten. Yeah, Aidan, and thanks, Martin. Yeah, Aidan, absolutely. Beetles on the river are very good. I know I was out with a Frenchman last year at some stage, and he was fishing nearly a 2-inch bloody beetle on the River Nore here, and the fish he was getting was just phenomenal. Fishing it in under the trees. So just putting a little bit of a molt on that, just to create that little slimy kind of look. Not too bad for a size 12. Say a little bit out of proportion because of the size of the hook, just for the show, but tied in size 16, but very effective. That'll sit perfectly in your surface film because of the density of that foam on the mid tip. We give it a little shot of the pen now just to set that resin, and that'll set lovely on top of that high density foam, and we'll have that little sparkle off that shell that will, you know, a cagey fish swimming by, has a secondary look at it. It's going to hopefully help him convince that it is something that came off the bed of the lake. Now, normally, if we're fishing on a size, if I was tying that on a size 14 or 16, I'd only have the 3 kind of, but on a 12 to get it looking some way half decent, to give you an idea about the form work and what we do with the doublings and stuff and a bit of molting. Well, then that's kind of how we do it. So I hope that helps for all you snail lovers out there. I hope you got some ideas from that. Between that and the black and peacock spider, you know, you certainly have a chance of getting them. It's never easy being imitative to something that particular, because I think it's all about the water level of exactly where the fish want them. That's where I think is the big thing. You know, exactly, you know, the exact depth of them and finding out that, I think could be a bit of a solution as well. But something like that, very simple, has that blacky green look to it, very, you know, fairly decent, and I know that has caught a lot of fish over the last number of seasons for a few anglers. So hope he's enjoyed it. That's going inside a little tub now for tomorrow, and some lucky winner is going to win that snail pattern. Work well on the likes of Laois Angling Centre or Dare Springs, any of those still waters at the moment. There will be snails there as well and things like that, and something like that is a little bit different. And no harm for us to get to use our mica powder again, actually, after last year. You know, we had a bit of crack about the old mica powder, but that's fantastic stuff. I've been using tons of it. Anybody else out there using their mica powder since we discovered it last year? Hope everyone's having plenty of fun with it, but it is good stuff. So there we go, folks. There's another one out of the way. I've no guest tires on tonight, and I've no tackle talk, so it's just me. You're stuck with me for the next little while. What are we on? 20 past 9. We're not doing too bad. We've covered 4 nice little patterns there now at the moment. I got 2 more for you, and I hope everyone's enjoying themselves and enjoying a nice relaxing evening and a bit of summer. And great to see so many is back on there saying hello, and thanks a million, Eugene. Glad you like it. Great to see so many people back on. I was kind of wondering the last couple of days, geez, you know, will everybody be too busy fishing the river, or, you know, having a few drinks on a Friday evening after work to even sit and watch fly time? But it's great to see so many people made the effort to come on and say hello. The question, James, we will post that on our Facebook page tomorrow at some time. Whenever I manage to get a few moments in me morning, I will stick a random question up based on tonight. The first person to send me in the correct answer, and normally they're not as difficult as Dave Donovan's questions, but the first person to give me the correct answer will win all those flies posted out on Monday morning, as always. Thanks a million, Robbie. So anyway, look, it's great to see so many people back on. I'm loving it. I'm really enjoying catching up with people. And I say it's been great to see people come into the shop there recently and, you know, have a chat with them. I met Graham Lonigan. I don't think Graham's on there tonight, but I actually met Graham Lonigan for the first time 2 weeks ago down in the Blackwater. I was doing a masterclass down there for Jason Corcoran, and someone showed up, "Hey, driver," and I looked up and I recognised him as Graham Lonigan. So it was our first time to meet after chatting online for nearly 2 years. We actually got to say hello, and it was great, fantastic. So these old online things over the COVID certainly were worthwhile. So what we're going to move on to next, so is I'm going to do Little River Nymph. That has been working really well for me. So this is hi Vincent. Thanks very much. Great to have you on here with us, Vincent. So this is a little quill that has been working really well for me lately. It's kind of my kind of go-to at the moment. But don't tell Mikey Foley or Tommy Lane, because this doesn't work on the Nore, by the way, boys. There's no point bringing these up to the Nore. They're not going to work on the River Nore for you. That's if I remember to bring the hooks. Glad you could be in luck now, Mikey. I forgot the hooks, Mikey. Oh man, that's such a bummer. Absolute top pattern. Sugar. I'll save that one for October, so I'll put away the olive quills and stuff. I actually did, folks. I forgot my hooks downstairs. I'm not going to go downstairs, but anyway, I'll save that one for October. Sorry, Mikey and Tommy. You'll have to do without that pattern. Instead, we'll move on to a bit of nighttime fishing. Shop in Kenny, James, is halfway between Bennett's Bridge and thanks, Tim. Halfway between Bennett's Bridge and Thomastown. I live in a place called Woolen Grange. If anybody ever wants to call in, you're more than welcome. Just give me a shout and I'll send you the air code. You need the air code to find the shop. So a lot of people were asking me about pupae, sedge pupae, nighttime fishing, all that kind of stuff. And I was kind of debating between tying some sea trout flies, which we're going to do a couple of sessions on sea trout and salmon. in the new series starting in October. So I said, you know what, I'll leave that alone till then because I got some really good experts coming on, as I'm certainly no experts at it. Experts coming on doing some sea trout flies with us, just tackle talk with us in October around sea trout and stuff like that. So I said I'll go down to Sedge Pupa End the way of it. So, you know, night rise is over, you've got a few fish, or even before it's about to start, and everyone's a little bit, you might drop a few off then tomorrow, Tommy, will you? Tommy has his own killer barns. You can drop a few off there now, Tommy, and I'll meet you down the Kings River in the morning. I'll get a few of them off you. So, always good to have the fun, the banter, as they say. So, you know, I can fish the Sedge Pupa kind of anytime really, but you know, it's kind of before or even after. I've got very good success over the years of fishing after the night rise. Okay, so the trout's gone off, it's gone black dark, and still standing there. There's a few fish moping about, and you still have a chance of picking off something pretty decent. And it can often be the best fish at night you get after dark. Something's after happening there now. I didn't have an Allen key to lock his voice in, and I just knocked it down, so it's kind of hand tightened. So forgive me for that there for a minute. I'll straighten it up for you. So, Sedge Pupa can be very effective. A wet fly style Sedge Pupa, and this one now I've fished for many a year. I was a Polish gentleman might give this one to me or something, this pattern, but very, very good fly. And one definitely having the back in your box if you're going nighttime fishing. And it's and you know, we're getting into that weather now, that real hot weather. The big sedge hatches are coming. If they're not already started, and you know, it's definitely trout feed on these. Excuse me. So what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to select the proper bead. I always put a bead on them. I always put a nice little bead on there because I want these riding under the surface. I'm going to be downstream wet fly fishing them. Hi Dave Toohey, hope you're keeping well up there in Montmillick. I always put a bit of weight in it because I want them just sitting down under the water, especially if I'm fishing across rapids and stuff like that. So I've got a size 12 611 in the vise, and I put just a 3mm countersunk gold bead onto that there. Now I'm just thinking I haven't tied this one for a while, so I didn't practice this one, but I'll get going I'll remember it as I get going. Bit of Kevlar on there, as always. And what I'm going to add in then is a little bit of microglint. This is pearl microglint. And I just want 2 strands sticking out the back for a moment. Okay, then I'm going to add a little bit of size 16, which is quite fine. It's the fine one of the pearl tinsel, mylar, and tie that in on the top of the hook there as well. I'm then going to add a bit of black wire. This is Sabaya heavy wire 0.2. Again, it's secured in quite well. Make sure it doesn't slip. There's nothing worse than going doing all the work we got to do next, and then actually I tied them in backwards. Sorry, folks. Someone could have picked me up in that mistake. I'm actually going to undo it because you know what? With the heavy wire, it will make a difference. The wire should have went in before the pearl tinsel, basically, and I could get away with it, but sometimes it's not worth it. If it was a finer wire, I might have chanced it. It wouldn't have made such an impact on the twist, but when I go to make that first twist, it would impact quite heavily on the finish of the fly. So a couple of seconds, undo it, put it in right, and we're good to go. As you can see, I'm tying everything in the full length of the curvature of the hook, so we're just not kind of sharp steps there along the way for what we're going to do next. Okay, we're going to put in a bit of dubbing next. So we got 3 colours dubbing here. we got light, medium, and darker. Okay, so we're going to put in 3 pieces of Dublin. So we want to put a little bit of the light, kind of light olive tan in the boat. Now this is all rabbit fur Dublin. Okay, so it's nice and soft, and that's what we want. Take a little piece of that and place it on the table in front of you. Take a larger piece, probably double, maybe even a little bit more of the medium. Teasing it. So I'm just teasing it out of the bag and getting it nice and flat, as you can see there. And I'm just placing that on the table in front of me as well. And guess by now I'm going to make a Dublin brush. Okay, I'm going to blend these 3 colours up together. So we get a nice light tone coming through medium into a dark. Finish up near the head. And in the darker one we have a little bit of UV there as well. So they're all teased out, laid out in front of me. That's fine for a moment. Now I'm going to put them in. Yeah, you can put them into your bull clip or your magic tool, whatever way you want to do it. But this is, I can do the size of that. So I'm just going to split that. Kevlar, nice and easy. Great stuff to split. And I'm going to start with my little bit of fine. Nice olive in there. What I do then is I do another little bit of a split. It's just a way of showing you how to do the splits and stuff with more than once. You don't have to put it all in at one time. I can put it in at 3 different occasions, just re-split every time. Kevlar's handy that way. And you let the colours kind of lap over onto each other a little bit. Probably not enough for that medium. So I'm going to start a little bit more. Be careful, over practice you'll get a bit more kind of confident with your proportions. You know, you don't want the medium to go the whole way to the eye. You still need enough to cover what you need to cover, but you don't want to go the whole way to the bead, should I say. You still want room there for your darker olive, just to have those 3 colours working well together. Slide them in that. Close it back up and re-split it again. Add in your darker section. Now it doesn't matter if you have too little of the darker section, because it's the last colour. And you can see now we've got our lovely 3 tones going up through that. We're going to hold on to there. As always, when we spin, we hold the thread tight and we spin our thread bobbin around. And we start spinning that Dublin up, get that nice soft fur Dublin brush. So I like that kind of softer fur for the pupils. You know, to get that lovely matty look in when they get wet and stuff. It's lovely. So once I'm happy with my Dublin brush, you can see there now I've got some tones going through it. And now we can wind it up the body. Start winding up and touching turns. You see the way the colours start to come out on that body then. Up there near the head. Don't go too tight to the bead. Okay. We then take our pearl that we mistakenly put in first and we should have put in last. And we're going to pull that right up the middle. It's a fine one, so we don't need a big, we're not tying a gamma here or a shrimp pattern. Okay, it's a pupae, we don't need a big covering, so stick to the nice fine little one. It's just to add that little vein down the back of the pupae that you can often see now. I said pupae. And then I'm going to take my black ribbon material and I'm going to rib that. And I use black just to help with the segmentation, to give the visual segmentation of you'd normally get with pupae. You can also, if you don't have black wire, Maxima Camolan Maxima can be quite good. Make sure that vein stays up in the back. Can be quite a success or quite good as well. So we're just ribbing that up. 5 or 6, just taking my time, working my way up. Get up there and then just, oops, knocked the camera. Sorry about that there, folks. I have a Lexipro webcam, and it's only about, God, it says about 6 inches from the vise, 6-7 inches from the vise, and that's the one you're looking at me tying on. And I'm always conscious of I'm not hitting it I'm surprised I haven't. I don't think I've actually knocked it over yet, have I? Anybody remember me knocking over the camera yet? I haven't, I don't think. I've done a lot of things now, but I haven't knocked over the camera. I'm going to trim off those and just leave a tiny little bit of sparkle out the butt of that fly. Okay? And then we're going to whip finish. No, we're not. My mistake. I'm not finished just yet. I need another feather there now. Where's it gone? There it is. Bit of bronze mallard. Okay, just take a little bit of bronze mallard. So I got two little slips here. I'm going to put one on top of the other because we want that natural curvature going back over. A little bit too heavy. We only need a small little bit. We don't need much. Make sure you get the nice natural curvature of the feather like so going back over your poop, okay? And leave a nice bit of length on it. Must be at least a full body of the fly, full length of the fly. Now you can whip finish. Make sure that's well secured in before you do. James, that's that one is a 611 Dahaku. I tie majority of my flies into Dahaku hooks. Tighten off, remove your thread. Okay. Now before we do any more, I take my ever trusty dubbing brush and I give it a little bit of a brush out. So I'm just teasing out all those lovely soft hackles. So when that gets wet, and I can see the little bit of a fleck coming off that little vein up the back. The camera's not really catching it, but when that gets wet, it gets lovely matte, and you get that lovely little translucent kind of little bit of a flicker coming out of that little, say, vein coming up the back. Shove back up your bead onto that there now, and now what we have is a little gap up the eye. Okay. Reposition your hook so that it just we rise up the eye a bit, so it makes life a little bit easier, and reattach your thread there in front of the eye. And when I'm nighttime fishing, I remember years ago when I was a young lad going sea trout fishing in places like Doonavara, the Avamore, and different Auckland River, you know, you'd be put in the river and you wouldn't be moving too far. You'd have a particular spot that you know there'd be a couple of fish. There'd be a couple of fish going, or maybe later on there'd be a chance of a good trout. And what I used to always do was mark the fly line. So when I'm casting just at dusk and I could see the far bank, because when light fades, the whole I think proportions get distorted, like as regards the distance the far bank is away from you and stuff like that. And getting into a tangle or putting how you doing, Connor? Connor Kangley's under. Getting into it, not a tangle, but putting your flies into the far ditch or the far bank if it's a small river, you know, could be the ending of your night because you've got to reset up and it's a pain in the backside. So a good trick I learned years ago was I used to bring a little piece of sellotape or a bit of excuse me, cable tie. Or if I didn't have one or forgot it, which was often the case too, I tie a little knot on the fly line. Put a cast to maybe within 6 inches or a foot or whatever the position I wanted that fly to swing in for the night, especially when sea trout fishing. And I'd put a cast to the far bank and I'd tie a knot on my fly line. So then I'd know for the entire evening, once I'm in this stretch of water, I cast to the knot or to the cable tie, and once it gets there, I'll never stick it in the far ditch. It was a handy little thing. But nighttime fishing is, you know, it is cool. Yeah, as far as some people and some people it's not. I remember years ago I was thinking of a funny story there today. Actually, it's been a good while now since I nighttime fish, but I remember guiding up in the Avamore years ago, and this Frenchman contacted us and said he wanted to go out on the river. So I said no problem, but he wanted to maybe catch a sea trout, go nighttime fishing. I said no problem, but as long as you're not afraid of, you know, the dark, which is a fair question to ask somebody. And I said, you know, things that maybe go bump in the night, because up around Avondale and places like that, there's, you know, it's so I just tied in, by the way, a little bit of partridge there. Oh, geez, no problem. He said, no, yes, no, I'm very accomplished angler and very in his French accent, the whole lot. No offense to any French people watching. But so that was grand anyway. I met him that evening, brought him down to Avondale, and we were there. We weren't 20 minutes after dark, I say, the fishing was just, and it was shaping up to be a really good night. It was, you know, all the signs were there that there could be fish here, and this was going to be a belter. We got a few nice brown trout. And after about 20 minutes of dark, when everything settled down and the silence came, and it's time we stopped talking and all that kind of stuff, I could hear this French roar coming up the river, and he come up bawling up the middle of the river like a cow. Something ran across his legs, a water rat or a mink or whatever it was, and he across his path, and he wasn't for fishing, nighttime fishing in Wicklow anymore after that, I can tell you. But yeah, but so nighttime fishing, it can be a bit challenging differently because obviously the visibility's gone. You know, safety is always an issue as well, folks. So be careful out in the river at night. You know, if you're not very much aware of where you're fishing or the water, you know, the riverbed, because you know, it can be quite a dangerous thing to do nighttime fishing. So, but it can be very effective, you know, and it's nice there in that silence. So basically, I've just hackled over that bead, as you can see. Okay, just hackled over at the front of that bead, put a nice little partridge hackle, a lovely soft, loose partridge hackle, and I'm just finishing off the fly there now in front of it. Excuse me. Locking that in there. Now, and I can tell you one thing, you're fishing that, it's nice. On this sweltering night after dark, when everything starts to cool down and the silence comes and the darkness comes, down across the riffle on the River Nore or something like that, you will have no problem pulling all the trout you want on that thing. That's cost me some amount of fish over the years. That whole lovely partridge hackle goes back over. You got those lovely bronze mallards there with act like the pupae horns. You got the lovely little bit of sparkle that'll come out in that lovely soft body. And that thing now, when I say I tie that from 18s right up to 12s. You know, it's a fly. I haven't forgotten about it. I think of one or two still in the wet fly box. But just looking at it there now and remembering all the fish I caught with it over the years, fantastic. Yeah, lovely soft hack, a little bit of movement on it there, and really is a simple but very effective little pattern with that kind of tapered body, the color tapered body on it and stuff as well. So that's it now, folks. That's it. It's 9:45. We didn't do too bad. I hope everyone enjoyed those couple of patterns. Thanks, Robbie. I hope everyone enjoyed those couple of patterns. They're kind of based on what's happening on the lakes and rivers at the moment and what she's kind of asked for. Sure, I'd love to sit on here longer, but sure, said I forgot my G cooks, so I can't tie the number one killer nymph for the moment. But I'll save it for another day. Mikey give me a lend of a few for tomorrow, and I'll copy them some night here for you, Mikey and Tommy Foley. But I want to wish everyone the best luck in the up and coming Thomastown Championships, especially the champions. No one's ever done it back to back, so if they do it, they'll be the first. Well done. Well done to the winners of our t-shirts. We'll have those t-shirts out to you. We'll have those lovely Piscari Fly t-shirts out to you in the post on Monday morning. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming on tonight, watching, joining. Thanks, everyone, for their continued support with Piscari Fly. Really do appreciate it. Has not been an easy year on most people, and it's been absolutely fantastic. Don't forget, we are open. You can call in. So give me a bell any day you're in the Kilkenny area, and I'd love to put on the kettle and have a cup of tea and a chat with any of you. So you're more be great. And if you can't call in, go to our website www.piscarifly.com and or give us a bell, give us a text, whichever way you want to do it. We're always willing to help. If anybody's got any questions or anything like that in relation to their fishing as well, please give us a shout. If we can help you, we will. If not, we'll point you in the right direction. And that's it, folks. Don't forget our master classes are running at the moment as well. Down on the Blackwater, we've had a couple of great weekends so far. We got another couple coming up before the end of the season. So if anybody wants to come for a masterclass down to the Blackwater, you're more than welcome as well. Just give himself for Jason a shout. Keep an eye on our Facebook page anyway. We'll keep it. Other than that, I'll see you all in October. I don't know. I'll see if I can get another session in maybe towards sometime end of August. We might do another night just to check in, to keep us all on your toes. But other than that, we got a great lineup for October right in through to March. We're going to go for the whole winter. Take a little break maybe around Christmas time, but other than that, we're going to go for the whole winter. So it's going to be great. Really looking forward. I can't wait for you to see all the cool new stuff I've managed to gather for you. So there we go. Don't forget, watch out tomorrow morning for the quiz. First person in on my feed wins the prize. So thanks everyone. Enjoy the rest of your scorching hot weekend. I'm going to finish off my lovely cold bulmers. Not up here in this attic that I'm in the loft. It's melting. I'm going to go and sit outside me outside my chair now, just cool down a little bit and enjoy a bummer. So good night, everyone. Stay safe and tight lines. Thanks a million. Talk to you all real soon.